Hello, hope everyone's well and having a great weekend so far and staying healthy. So a bit of a change. I'm in my home office setup today for today's talk. And the reason behind that is because of this Japanese-inspired Lego setup I've got on my desk. Some of you know me that I've recently become a bit of an addict with Lego, especially during this lockdown period. And this link will become more apparent later. But I want to go back a few steps of one of my recent articles that I wrote at the start of the lockdown. Especially during these difficult times, and I think we're all well and truly in this coronavirus fatigue. And I shared my thoughts on how we should see this lockdown as a gift and in a way to be able to reset our spirits and through acceptance and submission, and then you're in the right place to refocus and redefine and have a look at our purpose, our reason for being, and then forge a path forward to keep us going, because we have to keep going. And I had some tremendous feedback on that article, and which was great. And if you like this kind of stuff, please share it. It's all about sharing the stuff. But one comment, particularly from a very close friend of mine, she's not a new career person. She's well-established businesswoman. She's been in the corporate game. She's gone quite high up, and she's also an entrepreneur and a significant role model. But she came to me after reading that article, and she said, "Hey, you know what, Ali, you made me think about my purpose again." And she's struggling to identify what her purpose was, and that was really interesting to hear, especially from someone who is deemed successful, and I think we all question what our purpose is, especially during times of difficulty, and this time is no different for sure. So I wanted to share what my approach was in how, to answer that eternal question of how do we define and find our purpose and our reason for being, and one of the inspirations I have to find that is through this Japanese tradition of ikigai, hence the Japanese Lego building. I'm gonna get a coffee. I would love for you to get one, and let's have a quick talk. So you can see my latte art making skills have actually gone backwards over these months. Anyway, ikigai. What is ikigai? So ikigai is an old traditional Japanese concept, which its literal kind of meaning can be interpreted as reason for being. But in essence, it's a flow and a method to be able to identify some meaningful direction in your life. You may have seen this very famous the Venn diagram around on articles and on the net, which gets you to look at 4 key concepts within your life. What do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? And what are you good at? And the idea is that once you deep dive into those 4 core concepts, it then helps you identify a purpose for you in terms of your passion, your vocation, your profession, and your mission in life. That model itself, I personally think it's a fantastic model. I've used it myself to define my own career path, and from a professional development sense and trying to identify your purpose from a professional direction, I think is a great structure and a great framework. But outside of that, and I've been working on this, and I realized there was something still missing from there. Yes, work is work, and professional development and purpose for sure is critical. It's a critical part of our lives. But for me, on a personal basis, it goes beyond that. What about family? What about love? What about friendships? What about the other non-work things in my life, my faith, for example? So that model, then that framework, then becomes quite rigid, and isn't suitable for those other aspects of one's life. I personally don't believe then there is this all-in-one, nicely fits model of my life. Oh, and here, my son's here. Say hello to everybody. Hey.
Hello. What are you doing?
I'm just doing a video.
Cool.
I'm talking about how to find your purpose through ikigai. Do you know what ikigai is?
What?
It's a Japanese word. That's why I'm doing it in front of the Japanese.
Cool.
Wait, what's the matter? If there was one summary of finding purpose in your life, for sure it's that kid. But actually, he's inadvertently, as he does on many occasions, helped me prove a point that I'm trying to make, is when we have difficult periods in our life, that rigid model, is great for work, but not for our ever-changing lives, and especially in a day-to-day periods or in periods of difficulty. But when you think about it, and when, being the simple guy that I am, when you strip away all that fluff, as I like to call it, ultimately the overarching theme is quite simply happiness. It's as simple as that. That hey, we want to be happy. We want the people in our lives to be happy. That kid who came in, my son, of course, I lived to make that guy happy. And I know I can already sense some of you rolling your eyes and go, thanks, Ali. Happiness. It's as easy as that, yeah. But what does happiness really entail? What does it really mean to be happy? Happiness is derived from the sensory pleasures within your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul. So how can we then achieve, and impact those sensory pleasures in our mind, our heart, and body and soul? And this is when we can then revisit the concept of ikigai, because in the traditional sense of ikigai is not that model. That model was actually a westernized interpretation of ikigai. But however, this author, who's also a neuroscientist, Ken Mogi, he perfectly summarizes ikigai, or presents forth a different kind of methodology of looking at it, and this is through 5 pillars. These 5 pillars are not necessarily in any order, or they're not mutually exclusive. They very much are intended to say, hey, look at these 5 pillars and try and incorporate these 5 pillars in your daily lives every day. So what are they? It starts from starting small, releasing yourself, harmony and sustainability, the joy of the little things, and being in the here and now. So the beauty of these 5 pillars is that you can then interpret them based on your own personal scenario and circumstance and period of time. Each one of those can mean a different thing for an individual, and that's the whole point of it. I mean, if I take a couple of them as an example, releasing yourself goes back to what we mentioned at the start, is this idea of acceptance, this idea of submission, and encompassing in your mind that, hey, you accept what is around you, and when you submit to it, is a form of that release that we can practice every day to help satiate from a mindset point of view. Harmony and sustainability. For me, my thinking on that is, to ensure that we are surrounded by people that we trust. That our network and be it our friends, be it family, be it colleagues. People who love us and people who trust us, and that will always provide a level of harmony, to your heart and to your soul. Gratefulness and having that area of gratitude, and feeling blessed for the little things in your life on a day-to-day basis, for sure, is something I've always mentioned, I've always talked about, and it seems obvious, but having that daily practice of feeling blessed and feeling grateful for those things in your life feeds nutrition to your heart. Being in the here and now is all about that concept of being free, and living for the moment. And look, hey, I'll be the first one to say, this year it's been tough. It's been really tough to really fulfill that one. But this is the beauty of this kind of 5 pillars and this interpretation of this. Ikigai is and what we're talking about here, more so than anything, is your flow. A flow, by its very nature, is liquid. A liquid, again, by definition, is dynamic. And in that case, then, for sure, it makes sense that, hey, it's okay to start again. It's okay to change a bit of direction. When we have periods in our life, and we will do, every day is different, every few years is different, every month is different. We will face periods of difficulty. I mean, this time we know it. But it's okay, because we are focusing on our flow and driving those sensory pleasures with our flow to our mind, our heart, and our body and our soul. It's okay for it to change a little bit, that direction, to start over, start it again, look at something small, having that gratitude, connecting and consistently with the people that we care about, because all of that triggers, not only a sense of reward, but also that sense of happiness that we're all striving for. So my approach and my advice is hey, have a go at trying to incorporate those 5 pillars in your daily life, and see how much you're actually doing. Maybe you're not doing any of them, or maybe just one of them. Try and incorporate all 5, and let's see how it goes, and then see how we can keep that flow going, and more importantly, identifying that flow. And I'd love to know about it. Please, if you like this kind of thing, share it, drop me a comment, email me, and hopefully we can share some ideas. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourself. Peace and love.